the Interesting Conversations with Interesting People podcast series with author Nigel Beckles.
Welcome to the podcast.
Please like the podcast and subscribe to this channel. Thank you. The very best way to promote your podcasts. Podpage makes it easy to create a podcast website with just a few clicks. Every page is optimized to be found on Google and it stays up to date forever. For more information, visit podpage.com. The future of podcast promotion.
Have you experienced several failed relationships or been through a divorce? How can you avoid making the same mistakes again? How to avoid making the big relationship mistakes is out now.
Hi, my name is Nigel Beckles. My book is packed with practical and common sense strategies that you can use to make better relationship choices.
Now you can discover the dangerous myths about love. If your relationship expectations are realistic, why you could be falling in love for all the wrong reasons.
How to avoid making the big relationship mistakes. It's a book that could change your life.
Available from amazon.co.uk. Kindle version also available.
Author Queen P. When the Mood is Right, A Poetry Journey, Mood Swings, and When the Mood is Right, A Rebirth. Books available on Amazon and all good bookstores.
Hi, I'm Queen P., author of When the Mood is Right, A Poetry Journey, and Mood Swings. Please join me by tuning into my poetry podcast, The Royal Affair, on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Google, and all other similar platforms. I'm hoping that this podcast will motivate you, inspire you, uplift you, and make you think about where you are in life, as well as seeing how far you have grown throughout your life's journey. You can also listen to the podcast on the Helium Radio Network on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You have entered into the Royal Affair.
Join Queen P for the Royal Affair Poetry Podcast.
Get ready for takeoff.
Welcome back to my Interesting Conversations with Interesting People podcast series. My guest for this episode, the co-author of a new book, Nike Akiti. Hi Nikki, welcome to my podcast series. How are you?
I'm very good today, thank you. Exceptionally well. How about you?
I'm very well too. Busy, but as
Always.
they say, the devil makes work for idle hands. So I like to keep it moving. So where do you live at the moment?
Currently, I'm living in Luton.
And did you grow up there?
No, I actually grew up in, two places. So I started off in Basildon, Essex. And then the rest of the time I was there until I was 10. And then I went back to Lagos, Nigeria, which is where I'm from. And I was there till I was 16.
How did you find it in Lagos?
Initially, it was quite, stressful. I wasn't prepared for the different climate, the different culture. Everything was different. The context under which I went back there, that's a whole other story anyway. Like I said, the culture was different. I was living with different people. I mean, obviously, I was integrated into my family, so to speak, my blood family with my mum and my siblings, whereas previously I wasn't. So just to give you a little bit of context there. And so the culture in the house was different. Talk less of the culture outside of the house. So it was all really new and school was different. So, yeah.
Well, I understand you practice martial arts. So
Yes.
you moving to Lagos, was that an influence for you to start practicing?
Absolutely not. Martial arts actually came much, much later in life. So bearing in mind, I'm in my 50s now, and the martial arts actually started when I moved into Luton. So I'd been living in Luton for about 4 or 5 years. I beg your pardon, it's actually 6 years. And I'd gotten to that place where, okay, it's time to settle down, in the sense that up until then I was working in London, I was shopping in London. Everything was still in London because that was where I'd come from. And then I made the decision that if I'm going to stay in Luton, I need to make a life there. And I opened the local newspaper, you know, those stuff, the freebies that come through the letterbox. And this leaflet fell out and it says, come and do martial arts. You'll get fit. You'll do this. You'll do that. And I went there along on an autumn evening in September and I've never looked back, basically.
So what style of martial arts do you practice?
It's Taekwondo, so that's the only one I've ever done and will ever do. I don't know if you know anything about Taekwondo. Coming from the area of the world that it comes from, does have some roots in karate. The person who sort of brought it to the world, Taekwondo was born out of Korea, and basically it means the way of the hand and the foot. So it's kicking and a punching.
Well, I used to do martial arts myself, so I have dabbled a little bit in Taekwondo. So which belt did you achieve?
So I'm currently a first Dan.
Oh, that's impressive. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I won't be messing about with you. Keep on your right side.
You know how it is with Taekwondo. You can only use it for the defense of the weak.
Well, I understand you're a contributor to a book which is due to be published this month. What's the book called and how did you become involved in the project?
It's Life Outta Lockdown. And how I became involved I was actually part of the first one. So how I became involved in that was because a great friend of mine, Dee Bailey, as I'm sure you know, is a great facilitator. And even before lockdown, she used to do ladies' soirees where you'd get together, you'd meet and you'd network. And when that went online onto the Zoom, we're having the Zoom calls every week. And another lady who was an integral part of it called Veronica Ebank suggested we put it in a book. So we had our first book, which was called Life Inner Lockdown, Behind Closed Doors. And that was chapter 6 in there. And in this one, which is called Life Outta Lockdown, Beyond Open Doors, I'm chapter 15.
So did you enjoy the process? Had you written a book before or contributed to a book before?
I had never written a book before. I'm not going to lie, it is and still remains one of my desires. This came about, well, just how it came about off the Zoom, and it was very interesting. It was fast-paced because we started in, was it May we started in? And then by July it was published. And that was the first one. And we had the contributions of people who were previously published authors, other people who had done some collaborations before. So it was very exciting and different, completely different to anything I've ever done before.
So you plan to write a book of your own? And what would that be about?
So it will be personal development in probably targeted towards later life. It will have flavours of healthcare, self-care, that type of stuff based on a layman's perspective, such as myself, as having gone through a process.
So when do you hope to have it published?
I've got to write it first.
Oh, you better get cracking then. So Nikki, how can people contact you?
So they can contact me. I'm on most social medias. I've got a handle, Ms. Nikki D, which is MSNIKKIDEE. And if you type that in, you can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, and on TikTok.
Nikki in Luton, UK. Thank you very much for your time.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
Please follow author Nigel Beckles' podcasts on all major podcasting platforms. Thanks.